Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about how to teach somebody to be a game master. This was specifically a question that was asked by a viewer in the comment section. Hi, Mike Harrington. Good to get this question. Thank you very much. So I'm going to go ahead and address that today. So how do you teach someone to be a game master? So this is a great question, and I actually clarified it with Mike. I was like, you want me to do a video on how to teach somebody to be a game master, or just a video on how to be a game master? And the reason why I clarified that is it is just almost an unlimited number of videos online about how to be a game master. That's not, that's really been covered. But the question of how do you teach someone to be a game master, I really haven't seen that talked about very often. So it's a great question, and let's go ahead and talk about it. All right, so the first thing to do when you are teaching someone to be a game master is you have to realize that when you are running a game, you are teaching every single player how to be a game master. You're teaching them what to do and what not to do, right? So your pedagogical, teaching segment really is in the games you're running, right? And that's really important. If you acknowledge that, then you can, you have to run a game, but game masters are jugglers. They really have to juggle a lot, right? They have to juggle compelling story. They have to juggle dealing with the different players that are at their table. They have to juggle the rules. They have to juggle the physical space, the quality of the components of the game, all of that, right? It's a lot, right? So just realize from a teaching perspective, that's where your teaching is really going to come from, right? And one thing along those lines is really, I'm going to give more advice on how to teach somebody to be a game master, but you never want to sit somebody down and say, okay, you want to do this, and in order to be a great game master, or in order to be a game master, you need to do this and you need to do that, right? It's just not like that, right? It doesn't work that way. And now it can work that way if somebody comes to you and says, hey, would you teach me to be a game master? And actually asks specifically and says, can we go, go to a restaurant sometimes, I'll bring a notepad and you can tell me everything you know. You might get lucky like that, but it's incredibly unlikely, right? So if you are authorized to teach someone, then you can take that circumstance, but that's almost never going to happen, right? So the reality is the way you teach somebody to be a game master is generally you're going to teach them by being a great game master for them for multiple sessions, okay? Now, this is so there's going to be a lot of do's and don'ts in this on how to correctly teach somebody to be a game master, and now how not to correctly teach somebody to be a game master. One, this is my advice, do not ever encourage anyone to be a game master, okay? Verbally or directly, right? If you have a great player and that player is smart and, is a really compelling player, don't go to that person and say, hey, I think you'd be a great game master. You want to run? Right? And the reality and the reason why is I feel like our hobby has really suffered from lack of understanding on this point, right? So what happens is, it is my opinion that game mastering is absolutely its own reward. Everybody says, oh, game masters work so hard and they do so much for the game and they invest so much time, right? Well, the reality is that, basically that's all true, but all that work is work the game master is choosing to do and the game master finds fun, okay? And if you don't find game prep fun, and if you don't find thinking about your narrative, and if you don't find running the game fun, stop game mastering immediately, right? That's really important, right? So I think that's really critical, right? So the reality is game mastering its own reward. What are the rewards of being a game master? Well, here's the rewards of being a game master. You get the rapt attention for 2 to 4 hours. Ideally, it should be 2. Of 4 to 5 players. You get to control an entire world like a god, right? Like that is its own reward. Who lets you do that? Like nothing and no one, right? It's crazy, right? So it's definitely its own reward. All right. So the reality is, and here's the other thing is, when we bring a game master up, that game master is going to be impacting the hobby. They're going to be impacting 4 to 5 players and giving them a good experience in tabletop role-playing games or a bad one. So that person has to have an interest in game mastering. It's really critical, right? Now, how do we recognize that interest and then turn that into game mastering, right? It's very simple, right? So basically, if you ever get a player who's like, oh man, that was a great session. You know, I was thinking about running something, or maybe a one shot, or just something. The moment a player says, I would like to run XYZ, you say, that's fantastic. I would love to play in any game you would like to run. Okay, it's really, this is absolutely critical. Okay, say, I would love to run, I would love to play in any game you would like to run. Then shut your mouth, right, and walk away from the table and don't say anything else, right? And give that person a week to 2 weeks to come back and say, I'm running a Western, or I'm running D&D, or I'm running the same game you are, and it's going to be in this other world, okay? And here's how to teach that. Here's how to teach somebody to be a game master. Whatever crazy nonsense they come up with, go, I'm in, I'm there, man. And if let's say you host games at your house, say, can I please host your game? I'm buying pizza for the first session, right? The way you teach somebody to be a game master is you get on board with whatever they are planning. You do not say, I think that's a bad idea. I don't think that's going to work. Blah, 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 right? Whatever nonsense they come up with, and trust me, it will be nonsense because it's new, get on board and be their best player. That is how you teach somebody to be a game master. You do a great job of game mastering for them. You entice them to want to be a great game master by running great games and exhibiting how fun and how awesome game mastering can be, right? And then the moment they express interest, you do everything possible to make sure that game happens as quickly as possible, unchanged from their vision, and that you support it 100%, even to the point of sacrificing your own game, right? You say, hey, why don't we take one of my sessions per month, and you can have that going forward for the next, for the next X amount of time, right? And actually, I was about to say, for the next 3 to 6 months. Do not put a cap on it, right? Like a lot, most game masters won't know that their game's not going to run they're going to be like, oh, my game's going to run for 5 years because everybody's going to fall in love with it. Just let them believe whatever they're going to believe and just get on board immediately, right? Immediately. And be incredibly supportive and be their best player. And then once you're in, right, you're going to do not correct them in any way. In any way. Don't correct on rules. Don't correct on play style. Don't do any corrections. What you want to do is you want to be there helping other players make their character sheets. And then also, you're going to be a stealth game master, right? You're going to be the entire point of your character should be to get the best from every other character at that table, right? And so your new job is not to enjoy the campaign, but is to blossom up every other player in that campaign and invest every other character in that campaign with your play from your player character in enjoying and really doing a great job with the style of play within that game. So that's pretty much I think that's really the things I think are really critical for teaching someone to be a game master, is acknowledging that when you are game mastering, that is when you are actually teaching someone to be a game master. The other thing is, do not, for the love of God, do not send them to online, right, for online advice. And the reason why is basically I saw this. Yeah, so let's talk about this a little bit. All right, so a science fiction writer that I really love recently did a Facebook post, and she said, "Hey, I have a friend who wants to get into Dungeons and Dragons. They're avid video gamer and they want to start in Dungeons and Dragons. They want to run. Actually, they don't know any Game Master, so they actually want to run game mastering. How do I get them started, right? And the thread just filled up with, have them watch Matt Mercer, or have them watch these videos and it'll teach them all about it, right? And I really feel like that is the wrong way to go. Our hobby is the books, right? So, basically, they're going to need that, when you are starting out as a game master, you need to read the books, read the rules, and then do the best job you can in running it. And I'm thoroughly convinced you need to fail on your own, right? I do not think it is a wise idea for new game masters to learn how to game master from videos. It is a very, very bad idea. By the way, it's one of the reasons why I don't give advice to newbie DMs on my channel, right? The reality is, now, to me, this is a discussion, all my content is absolutely how advanced game masters should be growing the hobby, right? And one of the ways they do that is you run great games. And so I think it's absolutely okay for videos to serve as a discussion point for advanced game masters. But new game masters, you read the book, you run your crappy game, which I guarantee it's going to be crap, because you're new, right? It's going to be terrible for everybody at that table, but that's the only way to do it, because this is incredible. It's just like juggling, right? You don't just pick up 3 balls and throw them up in the air and everything works out. It doesn't. It's going to be bad, right? And the reality is, I think what we do as game masters, if we want to teach somebody to be a game master, the best way to do that is jump in and be part of that horrible first experience. And then they learn and they go, oh, that didn't work. I'm going to adjust, right? And the other thing is, if you're going to be a game master, you have to be persistent. You have to be the kind of person who's going to fail, pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and start that next game. And if you are not that type of person, be gone with you, man. Like, we should not be recruiting people who don't have a strong desire to be a game master. So that's my take. I just wanted to say thanks again, Mike Harrington, for a fantastic question. Really appreciate it, and have a great day.